Castlevania, Order of Ecclesia, originally released in October of 2008 for the Nintendo DS. It is available today on all modern platforms in the Castlevania Dominus Collection, retailing for $24.99. Castlevania, Order of Ecclesia was the third and final Castlevania for the Nintendo DS. This time around, you have only one protagonist, a woman named Shenua. She is affiliated with the Order of Ecclesia, an order seemingly dedicated to counteracting Dracula, which only exists because the Belmont clan and the Vampire Killer Whip are apparently nowhere to be found. So as part of this supposed plan to fight Dracula, our hero has been stripped of her memories and emotion, and she is going to bear glyphs that are derived from the powers of Dracula. However, at the last minute, another member of the Order, Albus, steals these glyphs. And the game really starts with you having to pursue Albus to reclaim the 3 Dominus glyphs. And right from the start, you're going to notice a lot of things that are different from previous Castlevanias. Firstly, you don't actually have weapons. You have glyphs, and you can get new glyphs by absorbing them. Sometimes you find them around maps, sometimes you can witness an enemy trying to use one, and some are dropped by enemies after you take care of them. They can take the form of weapons like swords and hammers, or the form of elemental spells, or familiars, and sometimes they even take the form of movement utilities. All of them use some of your magic meter, which regenerates far faster than in other Castlevanias, and generally speaking, the weapon and mobility glyphs use very little magic, and the elemental spells and summons tend to use a lot more. The system is unique and does allow you to combine certain glyphs, but it also removes a lot of the weapon variety you had in previous Castlevania games. Enemy weaknesses also play a much bigger role in combat, so you'll be switching glyphs around a lot. The next gameplay change you'll notice is that you don't have one large map that you're exploring. The game is instead broken up into many small areas that you select with an overworld map. The size and complexity of these areas does vary quite a bit, with some being a straight line, and others having at least some areas to explore. But these areas are all opened in a rather linear fashion, and thus remove the choice, or at least illusion of choice, that comes with traditional Metroidvania gameplay. Throughout these tiny zones, you will occasionally find villagers that are frozen in what seems to be amber, which leads to the third big change in gameplay. Most of the villagers have a series of quests for you to do. They're all in a nice small village for you to visit. Their quests usually require you to find items that are either in chests throughout the tiny zones, or are drops off of enemies. Which does mean you'll be going back through zones over and over again for chests to spawn, and hopefully spawn as their rare variant, so you can get items. Or, if they need an item that drops off of an enemy, you get to repeatedly defeat the same enemy over and over again till you finally get that item. And that sums up the issue with this game in general. On top of being a very linear affair, it is also a very grind-heavy affair. And not just from doing these quests, which, in fairness, are completely optional, but also every time you encounter a boss, they have a ridiculous hit point pool. So you will likely need to grind your levels up in order to beat every boss you encounter. Either that, or grind for a large amount of healing items, but you'll notice that either option requires grinding. Now, there are 2 endings to this game. One where you do track down Albus and get the Dominus glyphs, but you haven't found all the villagers. This just ends with our protagonist dying. The other option, if you track down the Dominus glyphs and have found all of the villagers, you're first greeted with a rather shocking twist that I won't spoil here, and then you get to go to Dracula's castle. And as small as most of the other areas have been, Dracula's castle is actually pretty big. Not necessarily as large as it has been in previous games, but still bigger than I was expecting, based on the other zones in this game. There's an optional exit in Dracula's castle that will lead you to 2 optional challenge zones. One of the areas challenges you with platforming and mobility, the other one challenges you with combat. If you're looking to 100% the villagers' quests, you'll need to go to these zones. And all I can say is good luck. But anyway, once you finish up Dracula's castle, you'll get the good/real ending, and you'll unlock 2 alternate modes of play. Albus mode, where you play as Albus, shocker. You have no items, no gear, and limited glyphs to use. Your only option to get stronger is to grind levels. Oh, and there are no villager quests to do. So it's basically an incredibly stripped down version of the main game. I don't recommend it. And you unlock hard mode, which lets you set a level cap when playing. I also don't recommend it. So is Castlevania Order of Ecclesia worth your time and money? No, not really. It's easily the weakest of the 3 Castlevanias from the Nintendo DS. The game is incredibly linear, and is so very heavy on grinding, that it completely ruins whatever little it did have going for it. And the game had some interesting ideas going in. The idea that there are other organizations that are fighting Dracula and his forces is actually a great concept. But playing this game, this organization seems to consist of only 3 people. The combat gets pretty annoying, as you need to switch around your glyphs for almost every enemy you encounter. At least if you want to take out enemies with any efficiency, you have to switch them out. You can just keep hitting them with ineffective glyphs and eventually they'll go down. But is it more annoying to keep opening the menu, or to just waste your time? I'm honestly not sure. If it was just this game by itself for the $24 in the Dominus collection, I would say pass on it. But as this game is bundled with 2 much better games in the Castlevania Dominus collection, you will likely end up owning this game if you have any interest in Castlevania, or just Metroidvanias in general. But don't buy the collection specifically just to play this. But if you really feel you must play Order of Ecclesia, play it first before you've played the other 2 Castlevanias from the DS. Because then at least its weaknesses will seem less apparent when playing. So obviously no, I don't recommend Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. I do, however, recommend the Castlevania Dominus collection in general, but that is in spite of the presence of Order of Ecclesia, not because of its presence. I'm actually wondering if Konami stopped making Metroidvanias because of this game. I can't prove that is the case, but I can't help but think the 2 are connected. Like they wanted to try something new with this game, so they did. They did something new and different, but different does not mean good or better. Please do subscribe, comment, like, and tell your friends.